Okay, this is going to be a test Raku firing. I'm using the top half of my kiln. I have just a bunch of shelves underneath there to kind of prop it all up, and it's pretty stable, I guess. I'm not used to using such large posts just to get height out of it, but it should be fine. I probably won't be knocking that around too much. Kind of learning from my mistakes already, and I haven't even started the kiln yet. Basically, I'm using just some prepared Raku glazes, Spectrum, Amico, that kind of thing. This piece here is going to be a lamp. That is glazed in Amico's Caribbean Blue. So the thing about that is the recommended temperature is cone 05, which is like 1888 degrees. That happens to be much higher than the spectrum temperature, which is a range of 1600 to 1700. So probably in hindsight, I wouldn't have used the Amico glaze because I really don't want to go up to 180 degrees more than what I need to. But probably what I'm going to do is leave the Amico piece in and see if I can bring the temperature up. And I have a bunch of glazes on this, and Caribbean Blue is on there. So I'm going to be taking that out at a lower temperature, and I'll see if there's a big difference in the color. So in the future, I definitely would look at the mature firing temperature of the glazes a little more carefully before I start deciding to use some. But I'll be using some tongs to get all this out of here, and I'll show you the setup in a minute. I do have a pyrometer set up. Kiln's not started yet. I'm going to go ahead and turn the kiln on. It's going to go on full blast. So all the elements are going on. Oh, that won't work. No, the kiln sitter doesn't really need to be on. I didn't even realize that would work without that being up. So the elements are on, I can hear it. So the pyrometer is over here. Let's see. 67 degrees. So I'm going to see how long it takes to get up to 1700. Might be a long time, might be quick, I have no idea. The pyrometer is right there. Might be hard to see, but it's coming out right there at the top. There's plenty of heat coming up. I'm going to close the kiln and set up all my buckets, and I'll be back. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes, maybe not even that much. So we're at 7:42 after 20 minutes, so that's pretty quick for an electric kiln to come up that fast. So maybe about an hour to get to 1700, I'm saying. That's going to be a guess anyways. And I thought the power would kick off when that kiln sitter fell down like that, but maybe it has to really hit hard to go off. So that was a surprise that worked. So the kiln is on. Everything's as it should be. I have all my greenware in here too, so it's all just sitting there waiting to be bisque fired, which I have to do after the Raku. So the kiln's going to have to cool back down again before I can put all that in there. So here's the bucket setup. I got that bucket at Home Depot yesterday. It has a lid and it has a locking lid to it. And I was glad to find that. I'm just hoping that it won't be too hard to get the lid on and off. And then I have some small buckets. I'm going to use towels, wet towels, to just put over those. Those are loaded with clay because those are my hand towels, but those will work. And then I'll quench the pots in the bucket there afterwards. And I'm not going to record any of the taking out of the kiln. I'm just going to show the results afterwards. And I'll be wearing long sleeves and gloves and everything, so all the protective gear will be on. So I can't record it, and I'll just show you the results afterwards. I have some extra materials. I'm using pine needles, banana leaves that are really dry, and newspaper. So that's it. There's a little bit of some dried air plants and stuff that I found on the ground there too. So that'll work. So I will let you know how it goes. It's been about 45 minutes, so we're at 1090-ish now, so that's a little longer. It kind of went up to 800 really quickly, and now taking a lot longer to get into the range we need, which is 16 to 1700. So looks like it might take another half an hour or so. So maybe like an hour and 15 to an hour and a half would be my guess. Is how long it'll take to get up to temperature. That's not too bad. And when I do open the kiln, I'm not going to be recording that because I just want to focus on taking the stuff out of the kiln. I'm actually going to cut the power to the kiln before I open it. You know, you can get electrocuted if you possibly do something wrong, touch the elements with the tongs. I have these tongs here to take the stuff out of the kiln. You know, the elements are not too far apart from the middle of the kiln, so it would be really easy to just accidentally touch one of them. So I am going to cut the power to the kiln before I open it and probably take, you know, 2 or 3 things out and just run them over to the buckets. That's going to be the process, and I'm not going to record any of that. There's plenty of videos on how to do Raku, so watch those. Then this is just my test. And you will see the results after I'm done. So the next time I record will be the results. Okay, well I am just about done with the firing. I have one more piece in the kiln because I'm going to try to bring up the last piece to over 1800. Pretty mixed results here. This is the glaze that I have in the kiln right now. This is what it looks like when it's fired at 1650. This is actually porcelain. The porcelain that I use is called P5 by High Water Clay. That did really well. I thought that was going to crack and shatter and everything. It held up great. I would definitely consider using that again. The glaze looks terrible, I think because it's just not mature enough. So we're going to see what it looks like at a hotter temperature in a little while. And this is the porcelain again. This glaze is turquoise by Spectrum. Their turquoise Raku. I think that you want a really thin coat of this. I kind of did put quite a bit on because I've seen turquoise Raku glazes that look almost like water sitting in a pot, you know, in a shallow dish or something. But this just crawled and cratered and everything. It did it on 3 different types of clay. This is it again. This is bunkum white stoneware. This is cobalt blue by Spectrum. And I had some like little pieces that I was trying. That's the turquoise again. It did it there. So I don't know. I just think it was too heavy of an application. You probably just want to do a really thin coat. And here's a really good example on a test tile. It really bubbled and crawled, and you know, it's kind of a nice color really. It's just, I guess it's got to be really thin. I mean, there's all kinds of like sharp edges and stuff there with that cratering. So that was kind of the bummer of the whole thing. I did a lot of small stuff, and I'm not real happy with how they came out. This is a buff clay. I think the glazes do look a little darker. This is the turquoise again. You can see maybe right there the bubbles that came up on it. I have white glaze by Spectrum, and I'm not real sure why, but it's sort of like a tan color and then white there. I did put a pretty thick coat of it. It didn't crackle hardly at all, and where it overlapped with the turquoise, it's all bubbly and cratered. So again, that turquoise is a problem. This is cobalt blue, and this is that Caribbean blue that is in the kiln right now. So it's kind of a terrible color at this temperature, and I put a pretty thick coat on, which might have been a mistake. So not loving the glazes there. Some of these other glazes are by Laguna. These are by far the best ones that came out of the firing. I don't know the names of them, so we're just going to look at them, but very metallic, very great, you know, has a nice finish to them, unlike the ones that came out of the jar. These ones probably were dry and dipped. I say that because I didn't do these, so I think this is supposed to be a white. It's kind of interesting. It did kind of do that tan thing like my white did. So I don't know if that's a temperature issue or too much glaze, probably. I don't know. And it crackled just a tiny little bit. I'm not sure if I got great reduction. Here's another one. Really nice green metallic. Even a little bit of red on the back. See if we can see that. So that's pretty good. I think this one could be red by Spectrum. This is a really nice glaze too. This has a nice finish to it. It did run a little bit. So, you know, I think maybe the Spectrum glazes out of the jar are kind of thick. Mine definitely were, so maybe they can be thinned down, or just a really thin coat could be put on. I think this is called Cornwall Stone, I think. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure why anybody would want to use that necessarily, because it didn't really do anything. It just kind of looks like a tan, kind of gritty looking slip, maybe, not even a glaze. And orange, I think this is by Spectrum. That's pretty nice, a nice bright orange color. It's not very metallic. It could just be because I didn't get good reduction with that. It was very difficult with the small pieces to get them into the bucket and get them covered in time. So this piece, this is Bella's Blend by High Water Clay. I'm not really sure what the glazes are. This could be the same red again on there, and an overlap with the orange. That's really nice. All the glazes that are on this cup here are really nice. They have a nice finish. They're perfect. There's not any real crazing that I got. I think maybe this piece cracked though. I can see now that there's a crack that you're going through the whole piece, which wouldn't really be a problem if it was just a decorative, you know, vase or something. It wouldn't work too well for a bowl, but this Bella's Blend did crack right there, and it went all the way through. So other than that, and I believe this might be Dynasty Blue by Laguna. There is quite a bit of crazing there. It's hard to probably see on the camera. You're not going to be able to see it, but really nice. That's a nice glaze too. So I think the Laguna glazes are the winner for the Raku Is Cobalt Blue by Spectrum. I don't really like it. It's very heavy looking. Probably because I should have thinned it down, but now I know. So I'm going to check on this other piece. I'm going to bring it up to at least 1800. It's in the kiln right now, so I'll be back. Well, I guess taking your glaze to the temperature that it's supposed to go to makes all the difference in the world. I actually only went to 1800. Cone 05 I think is like 1888 or something like that. But it just was going to take forever to get up to temperature in the electric kiln, so 1800 worked pretty good. I could not believe what this looks like. This is Amoco's Caribbean Blue, but I got a lot of copper on this, a lot of flashing. You can see kind of the turquoise. Now I think again a thinner glaze application is the way to go, but it kind of almost looks like forged metal the way that it cooled. I got really good reduction because I have a can that has a locking lid, and that seemed to make a big difference. There's some craters and things I can sand down a little bit, but this is going to be a lamp. There's a hole to wire it, and I'll just put a bulb in there. Really like this a lot. So, you know, you have to read the label and take the temperature to what it's supposed to be. There's a big difference to the 1600 degree result that I got with this same glaze, but absolutely beautiful result. Looks like it's made of pure copper. It's great. So that's the winner of the Raku firing right there, is this piece. So that's about it for now, and I will try to take some pictures of these and include that in the video too, so you can see some real results. Thank you for watching.